Welcome to Universe of Love in Anime, where love stories are told with all your heart. Before we begin our emotional journey today, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who needs a story that is healing, hopeful, and humane. Each of your support not only motivates us, but also spreads love to more people. Thank you for choosing to stop by Universe of Love in Anime, and now, let's listen to this heart-touching story. Growing Heart. In my past life, everything began with a lie so absurd that I almost laughed until it destroyed me. I had gone for a routine prenatal checkup, only to discover that my husband's childhood friend had been impersonating me in public, flaunting my name like it was hers. When I confronted her, expecting confusion or perhaps shame, she instead erupted in fury, turning the narrative against me. She screamed that I had cheated, claimed the baby wasn't my husband's. And he believed her. Blinded by jealousy and poisoned loyalty, he locked me away with women who weren't stable, who whispered twisted things and laughed when I cried. I begged him to take me to a hospital when the bleeding wouldn't stop. But he didn't move. He didn't even blink. In the end, it was his younger brother who found me in a pool of blood, carried me in his arms to the hospital, but it was too late. I had lost everything. And then, just as I took my last breath, I opened my eyes to the past. I was back to the time before I ever married him. Back before the betrayals, before the lies, before the child I never got to hold. This time, I didn't hesitate. I picked up my phone and called my father. "Dad," I said calmly, "there's a woman using my name to embarrass me in public. Take care of her. Also, about that engagement to the Oliver family I'll accept. But I want to marry the younger brother. I would make them all pay. Every single one of them." And that resolve was tested sooner than I thought. A sharp blow struck the back of my neck, jerking me awake. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth as warm liquid ran down my forehead. My vision blurred, and the sharp sting reminded me where I was. Back in that humiliating scene, surrounded by onlookers. "You think talking trash will save you from disgrace?" Celine shrieked, her voice slicing through the air. "You may be pretty, but next to a rich heiress like me, you're worthless." I staggered to my feet, wiping the blood from my face with shaking hands. Emma, standing nearby with a bottle of wine, suddenly smashed Itinto her own arm. Celine, don't hit me," she cried out dramatically just as Oliver burst into the room. He ran to her side like a knight to his damsel, full of righteous fury. "Are you insane, Celine?" he shouted at me. "You're jealous of Emma because she's the rightful heir. You don't belong in our world. And don't think being my girlfriend gives you any special rights. No one will hurt Emma while I'm here." His words used to crush me. Now they made me nauseous. I looked at him and realized, yes, I had been reborn at the exact moment I needed to remember how cruel he could be. I hadn't married him yet. Hadn't carried his child. I still had time. "Celine, apologize to Emma," he yelled again, while blood still dripped from my brow. Emma clutched his arm with false tears. "She hurt herself on purpose," she whimpered. I heard her say if she bled, you'd feel sorry and believe her. And once again, he believed her without question. I didn't even argue. I reached into my pocket for my phone, ready to call my father again. But Oliver was faster. Furious that I ignored him, he grabbed my phone and smashed it on the floor. "Celine, I've spoiled you too much. Apologize now." He yanked my arm so hard I stumbled. The blood, the spinning world, the pain in my head, all of it overwhelmed me. I fell to my knees. He drove his knee into my back, pressing me down. Emma stepped in front of me, perfectly framed, as if she were the victor in some stage play. "If you still want to stay with me," Oliver growled, "apologize to Emma properly. On your knees." I clenched my jaw. My body trembled from blood loss and rage. "Stop pretending to be a victim," he barked and slapped the back of my head. The explosion of pain blurred everything. And through the haze of agony, I saw Emma smile. Smile. "Oliver, you idiot." I spat through gritted teeth. "Emma is no heiress. She's pretending. "You've been fooled." But he didn't flinch. "What do you know? Emma uses her mother's surname. She was sick as a child, lived away, but I saw her mother visit. I was there." I laughed bitterly. In my past life, we had investigated that lie. There was no such connection. But none of it mattered anymore. Because this time, I wasn't going to cry and beg. I had come back, for a reason. I would make sure none of them would ever hurt me again. I remember trembling on the cold hospital floor, the fluorescent lights blinding above me, as the nurses whispered and rushed to save what was left of my body. That moment, that bleeding, brutal moment became the last memory of my previous life. No warmth, no forgiveness. Just betrayal and blood. I remember thinking that if I were ever given a second chance, I wouldn't waste it on love or blind trust. And fate, for once, listened. So when I returned to the past, I knew what to do. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I acted. And now, here I was again kneeling before Emma like a puppet in their play, my forehead drenched in blood, my body trembling not from weakness, but rage. The Oliver from this life was just as spineless as before, protecting the actress he called an heir. What a fool. What a hypocrite. The people around us watched in silence. Some had their phones out, filming, whispering, waiting to see the rich girl drama unfold. But they didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't the same girl who believed in fairy tales. "You'll regret this," I muttered under my breath, and Emma's smile froze for a fraction of a second. Maybe, somewhere in her gut, she felt at hat she was no longer dealing with the same naive Celine. Oliver didn't notice. He was too busy brushing Emma's hair from her face, treating her like glass. "Let's go, darling," he whispered. "You've had enough." As they turned to leave, I pushed myself to my feet. Blood still clung to my lashes, blurring the edges of the world, but I saw them clearly. Two people I once thought I had to accept. "Emma," I said calmly, and she turned amused. "You can lie all you want, but you and I both know the truth. Your mother never visited you, because she doesn't exist. And soon, neither will your lies." Her eyes darkened. Oliver scoffed. "Threatening her now? Do you ever stop?" I ignored him. He wasn't the one I was speaking to anymore. I turned to a woman filming nearby and said loud enough for her camera to catch, "Search the records. No heiress in the East family has a daughter named Emma. She's been using a fake name, scamming donors, playing the media. I have the documents." The murmur in the crowd shifted. Doubt crept in. That was the thing about truth, it didn't need to scream. Just a whisper was enough to tear illusions apart. Emma's face paled, and for the first time, her posture faltered. I didn't wait for their response. I walked past them, ignoring Oliver's barked insults and Emma's fake whimpers. My head throbbed, my body ached, but I had never walked taller. When I got home, I didn't bother explaining to my father. He saw the blood, the bruises, and he simply nodded. The next day, Emma's name appeared in every search result, but not as an heiress. As a fraud. A fake. A woman who had photoshopped family photos and bribed clerks to forge papers. The Oliver family tried to deny it at first. But the evidence was everywhere. And Oliver? He called. Begged. "Celine, I didn't know. I was deceived too." I didn't even answer. I let the silence punish him. Days passed. Then weeks. My wounds healed, but my resolve only sharpened. I met with Oliver's younger brother. Unlike his sibling, he had a calm steadiness, a quiet confidence. And in this life, I wouldn't fall for appearances again. I'd test him. Slowly. Intentionally. I wanted an ally, not a savior. And surprisingly, he didn't rush me. He listened. He believed me. He protected me without asking for anything in return. I didn't know if it would turn into love. Maybe I didn't even believe in love anymore. But I knew one thing: I wouldn't live my second life for anyone else. Not for a man, not for approval, not for society. I would live it for myself. And anyone who tried to hurt me again would learn what it truly meant to be reborn. The wind howled around them, the rooftop becoming a stage of chaos as Oliver and Sam struggled beneath the night sky. Sam, though smaller, fought with a strength that came from desperation. He wasn't just protecting Mayhay, was protecting everything I had lost and everything he had quietly admired from the shadows. For a moment, Oliver faltered, surprised by the fire in his brother's eyes. But he recovered quickly and pushed Sam aside with a roar. "You don't understand, Sam. This is bigger than you. Bigger than me. If we lose this marriage alliance, we lose everything." Sam didn't back down. "So you'd sacrifice Celine for that? Let her die, to please a woman pretending to be something she's not." Emma laughed behind them, arms still crossed, her silhouette illuminated by the blinking red light of the rooftop beacon. "This is so dramatic." Celine always had a flair for turning everything into a tragedy. "You act like she's some innocent girl, but she's been playing all of us." I forced myself to sit up, pain radiating through my skull. My hair stuck to my bloody forehead, and my lips trembled not from fear, but fury. "The only person playing anyone here is you, Emma." She tilted her head mockingly. "Oh, really? And who do you think they'll believe? You? Covered in blood, looking insane? Or my sweet, soft-spoken Emma, who's always just been trying to help?" I crawled forward, dragging myself across the rooftop until I could reach Sam's hand. "Help," I spat. "You helped yourself to my name, my fiancé, my future. You lied to everyone. But this time, I'm not alone." Sam stood beside me. "She's right," he said calmly. "You've taken enough. And I won't let you take one more thing from her." Oliver stared at us, his expression unreadable, torn between the illusion he clung to and the truth now screaming in his face. For a long moment, the wind was the only sound between us. Then footsteps. Heavy. Rushed. Security guards poured onto the rooftop, followed by my father and several men in black suits. "Step away from my daughter," my father's voice boomed. Emma's face drained of color. "Mr. Young, this is a misunderstanding. You impersonated my daughter. You injured her. And you plotted with others to gain power through deceit." My father's tone was icy. "Do you know what that's called, Emma?" She stumbled back. "I didn't mean to. It's called fraud." At his signal, 2 guards stepped forward and seized Emma by the arms. She shrieked, kicking, twisting. "Oliver, help me." Tell them I'm not lying." But Oliver didn't move. He just stood there, staring at the blood on his hands. "You used me," he whispered. "All this time you used me." "You let her," Sam said sharply, "because it was easier to believe a lie than face the truth." Oliver's eyes met mine, finally seeing not the girl he could control but the woman who had survived what he allowed. "Celine, don't," I said. "Don't waste the word." He opened his mouth, but my father cut in. "This ends now. Celine, you're coming home. And from this moment forward, there will be no more hiding. No more secrets." I nodded, tears slipping down my face not from pain, but from release. The guards escorted Emma away, still screaming. Oliver didn't move. He didn't try to stop them. Sam helped me to my feet, his arms steady and warm around my shoulders. "You okay?" he asked softly. I looked at him, really looked at him, this boy, who had always been in the background, who now stood taller than anyone else. "I will be," I whispered. As we stepped into the elevator, I held onto Sam's arm, feeling a strange peace settle in my chest. We descended slowly, leaving the rooftop, the lies, and the past behind. Outside, the city glowed, unaware of the battle that had just ended above. But I knew, and I promised myself, this time I would not live in anyone's shadow. I would rebuild, not for revenge, but for my own future. A future where I was seen, heard, and never doubted again. And maybe, just maybe, that future would have space for someone like Sam, someone who didn't just stand beside me, but believed in me when no one else did. I clung to the railing as I watched them drag Sam down the emergency stairs, his body limp, his fractured arm twisted at an unnatural angle. My heart pounded louder than the echoes of their hurried footsteps. I couldn't let this happen. Not again.
Not to him.
He had saved me without asking anything in return, and now he was paying the price. My vision swam from the concussion, but I pushed forward, one hand gripping the cold wall for balance, the other pressed to my ribs where the pain was sharpest. My hospital gown flapped as I stumbled into the corridor, shouting for help, but no nurses appeared. It was as if Oliver had planned it all, timed it to the quietest shift, bought silence from those who should have protected patients. I reached the stairs just in time to see Emma open the door to the underground level, where old supplies and decommissioned equipment were stored.
Sam looked at me then.
Even in agony, even as he was forced down, he turned his face just enough for our eyes to meet. And in that second, I remembered the boy with soft eyes and a gentle voice who used to leave books at the door of my mountain villa, thinking I never noticed. The boy who had grown into a man while I was too busy being shattered by his brother. I screamed his name. Sam. Oliver turned with a snarl. You should be unconscious. I staggered forward. And you should be in jail. You're not calling anyone. Not this time, he said through gritted teeth. You think you're safe just because your father's rich? Because you crawled back to him like a wounded child?
No.
You don't get to erase what happened between us. I laughed bitterly. You erased me the moment you believed Emma's lies. The moment you watched me bleed and did nothing. She was my only chance, he roared. Her family could save us. You were supposed to save me, I whispered, and that stopped him. Just for a moment. Long enough for Sam to kick backward with what little strength he had left, knocking Emma to the floor. The jacket she'd tied around his wrists loosened. He yanked one arm free and lunged toward Oliver. They crashed into a pile of broken hospital carts, the clatter deafening. I ran to Emma, who was scrambling to her feet, and slapped her hard across the face. That's for pretending to be me. She stumbled, stunned, and I didn't wait. I grabbed the emergency intercom on the wall and slammed the red button. Security to the basement, I said clearly, forcing my voice through the pain. This is Celine Nestor. I'm being attacked. Sam was struggling now, one hand gripping Oliver's shirt as they rolled across the floor. Oliver struck him again and again, fury uncontained, until Sam slumped. I screamed again, and finally heavy boots thundered down the stairwell. Guards burst into the basement, led by my father and 2 hospital directors. Get them off my son, my father shouted. Emma tried to run, but a guard caught her mid-step. Another pulled Oliver off Sam, who was barely conscious. Call an ambulance. Get a trauma team here now, one of the doctors ordered. My knees gave out, and I sank beside Sam. His eyes fluttered open. You came, he whispered. Of course I did. I choked out, holding his good hand. You came for me. I'll always come for you. He managed a faint smile before the paramedics pushed me aside. She needs a stretcher too, someone said. I wanted to protest, but everything was spinning again. The world tilted. I felt arms lift me, voices all around. And then darkness. When I awoke again, the light was softer, the air calmer. I was in a different room. Monitors beeped gently. Sam was beside me, hooked to IVs, his arm in a proper cast, his chest rising and falling slowly. My parents were there too, me mother holding my hand, my father pacing in the corner on the phone, speaking in clipped tones. Legal.
Urgent.
Powerful. They've both been taken into custody, he told me the moment he saw my eyes open. Oliver and Emma. We've filed every possible charge. And Sam? I croaked. He'll recover, my mother said, brushing my hair back. Thanks to you. I turned to him.
No.
Thanks to him. Silence settled, warm and safe. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt protected. Truly protected. Not by status or secrets, but by truth. And by love that wasn't loud, or demanding it simply was. When Sam woke up, his first words were a joke. Something about my hair. I laughed, weakly. You risked your life, and now you mock my hairstyle? I figured if I could make you laugh, I'd live another day, he murmured. And I knew then. This time, I wouldn't waste my second chance. Not on false promises or cold hands. I'd start over. And if Sam would walk with me, I'd let him. Not because I needed saving, but because we had saved each other. Oliver's laughter echoed down the stairwell like the crackle of broken glass. He spun Celine in his arms again before finally setting her down, breathing heavily, his eyes glassy with obsession. 10 million?
Fine.
I'll show you I'm not just talk. His hand reached for his phone, already dialing someone with trembling fingers. Prepare a transfer.
10 million.
I need it now, he barked, unaware of how desperate he sounded. Celine watched him carefully, controlling her breathing, suppressing the trembling in her legs. Behind her, Sam still leaned weakly against the wall, his lips pale, his eyes never leaving hers. She gave him the slightest nod she was okay for now. Oliver was pacing now, shouting into the phone, not even noticing the growing pool of blood beneath Emma's broken form. She whimpered softly, every breath a struggle, but he didn't glance her way. I don't care how you get it, mortgage the house, sell the cars. Everything. I'll get it back. Once I marry her, the Nestor family will be mine. That was it. The truth. The real reason behind every twisted thing he had done. Not love. Not regret. Just power. Access. Status. He saw Celine not as a woman, but as a key. And in that moment, her disgust solidified into something colder than hate clarity. You don't love me, she said softly, and Oliver turned to her, startled. What? You never did. You love what I represent. What I could give you. The doors I could open. The legacy you could steal. He rushed forward, grabbing her arms again. That's not true. I loved you. I still do. Then why did you watch me bleed? She snapped, her voice cutting like ice. Why did you lock me away? Why did you let her humiliate me, touch me, lie about me? You don't get to call that love. I panicked, he shouted. I didn't know what to believe. She said the baby wasn't mine, and you believed her, Celine interrupted, shaking her head. Without proof. Without hesitation. Oliver opened his mouth, but no words came. Only breath. Rough and uneven. You want to buy me? She said, stepping back. Then show me the money. And until then, stay away from Sam. From me. From everything that isn't yours. You think this is over? He hissed. It's only just begun. At that moment, heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs above. Suited men descended swiftly, their presence commanding. Behind them, Nestor himself. His expression was thunderclouds. Step away from my daughter. Oliver froze. Sir, I didn't. I heard everything, Nestor said, calm as a razor's edge. The threats. The manipulation. You've signed your own fate. 2 bodyguards grabbed Oliver by the arms. He struggled, shouting curses, declaring his love, vowing revenge. None of it mattered. Emma, still curled up on the floor, was next. One of the guards approached her, gently lifting her off the tiles. Medical team is on the way, he said quietly. Celine turned to her father. We need to get Sam to a doctor now. Nestor nodded without hesitation, waving over another team who carefully lifted Sam onto a stretcher. He risked everything for you, he said softly. I know, Celine replied. And I won't forget it. Minutes later, the corridor was cleared. Sirens sounded in the distance. As they wheeled Sam away, he grabbed Celine's hand one last time. Don't go back to him, he whispered. Never, she promised. At the hospital, Celine sat beside Sam's bed. She couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the last few hours, the way Oliver's eyes had darkened when she refused him, the eerie joy in his voice when he thought he'd won her back, the way Sam's body had gone limp under the weight of the assault. She felt a tear fall onto the blanket and quickly wiped it away. I used to think strength meant enduring, she murmured. But I was wrong. Strength means knowing when to say no, when to walk away, when to protect yourself and the people who actually care. Sam stirred, his fingers twitching. She leaned forward. I'm here, she whispered. Still here. His eyes fluttered open, tired but warm. I knew you'd stay. She smiled. I always will. The door creaked open. Her father entered quietly, holding a thin folder. We've initiated charges.
Fraud.
Assault. Extortion. Both Oliver and Emma will be dealt with. Thank you, she said, voice low. But I want more. He raised an eyebrow. I want to use everything they did, turn it into something useful. I want to help others who were silenced like me. He nodded slowly, pride flickering in his gaze. Then we'll start tomorrow. That night, as the city lights blinked outside the window, Celine finally closed her eyes, her fingers entwined with Sam's. Not because she needed saving anymore, but because now she knew her worth. She knew her voice. And in the quiet strength of Sam's presence, she knew that this time, her story would be written by her own hand. Oliver walked through the hospital doors as if he were a king returning to claim his throne, chest puffed, chin high, holding the platinum card like a trophy. He had sold everything, drained every last drop from what remained of his family's collapsed empire. In his mind, this was his grand comeback. He strutted through the lobby, ignoring the cautious glances from onlookers. Even in disgrace, he wore arrogance like a tailored suit. He was here to buy back his prosciutto by me. I was waiting in the private lounge, wearing a pale blue hospital robe, my hair loosely tied, makeup deliberately faint, just enough to cover the exhaustion from weeks of pain. When I saw him walk in, my chest tightened not from nerves, but from restraint. I didn't want to scream or cry. I wanted to finish it. He rushed to me, smiling like nothing had happened, like he hadn't left me bleeding, like he hadn't tried to strangle his own brother. Celine, he breathed. I did it. 10 million, just like you said. He handed me the card, his hand trembling slightly. I took it, my expression unreadable. You said if I brought the dowry, you'd tell your father to cancel the engagement. I tilted my head. Yes, I did. His eyes lit up, and he reached for my hands, but I stepped back. But you see, Oliver, you misunderstood something. What do you mean? You thought I asked for 10 million to marry you. I said calmly, but I asked for 10 million to expose you. His smile collapsed. What? I recorded everything. I continued, pulling out my phone. Every word, every call, your threats, your plan to use me to climb back up. And this card, it's now proof that you tried to buy a marriage under fraudulent pretenses. A transaction. An illegal one. His jaw clenched. You tricked me. No, I said, my voice steady. You tricked yourself. You never stopped to ask why I'd suddenly agreed to marry you. You assumed I still loved you. That I was desperate enough to sell myself. That's who you are, Oliver. You think everyone's a transaction. You think anyone will believe you, he spat. You're just some spoiled heiress trying to punish a man who loved her. Actually, came a voice from the doorway. They already do. My father stepped inside, followed by 2 officers. We've been collecting evidence for weeks. The threats. The injuries. The witness statements. And now, financial proof of coercion. No, wait. Oliver backed away, eyes wild. Emma will explain. Emma's in custody, one officer said. She confessed everything. That broke him. His knees buckled. She lied to me, he muttered. She used me. So did you, I said softly. And unlike you, I survived. The officers approached. Oliver Jang, you're under arrest for assault, attempted murder, fraud, and criminal coercion. They read his rights, but he didn't listen. His eyes stayed on me, pleading. Celine, please, goodbye, Oliver. He reached out one last time as they pulled him away, screaming. I stood still until the echo of his cries faded down the corridor. Then I slumped into the chair, my breath finally shaking. Sam arrived hours later, still pale, still recovering. But when he saw me, his eyes softened. It's done? I nodded. He's gone. You did it, he said quietly. No, I replied, reaching for his hand. We did. That night, I stood at the hospital window, staring out at the city lights. It was quiet. Too quiet for a city like this. But for once, I welcomed the silence. In my past life, I had loved the wrong man, trusted the wrong people, believed in lies. But now, the pieces of me that had been broken were finding their way back together. Sam leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed gently over his chest. "You're not alone anymore, you know," he said. I turned toward him. "I know." He stepped closer. "You don't have to be strong all the time." "But I am strong," I said with a smile. "Not because I have to be, but because I choose to be." He nodded. Then, slowly, he reached out his hand. "Walk with me?" I took it without hesitation. As we walked down the hallway together, each step felt like a page turning. This wasn't just a happy ending. It was a beginning that I had written with my own blood, tears, and courage. I didn't know what the future held. But for the first time in 2 lives, I wasn't afraid to face it. Not alone. Not anymore. Years passed, quietly, like petals falling in the wind. Our lives no longer revolved around storms. Sam's company grew slowly but steadily, never with flashy headlines or greedy ambition, only with care, with effort, and with an integrity that reflected the way he loved me. In this life, we never argued over power, money, or influence. We shared meals that weren't photographed, exchanged glances that weren't performances, and walked roads that didn't demand an audience. He never once reminded me of what he'd endured for me. He never compared himself to his brother. But I saw it all. In the way his eyes softened every time I looked tired. In how he left work early when I had a fever. In the way he read to me when insomnia kept me up. People called our marriage quiet. Some even said it was boring. But they didn't know how it feels to finally live without fear. To wake up and know the person next to you would never raise their voice to manipulate you, never weaponize your past, never use your love as leverage. One winter evening, while snow danced on the windows and the soft scent of roasted chestnuts lingered in the air, I found him curled on the couch, a children's book open in his lap. He looked up, slightly embarrassed. "I thought I'd practice reading aloud, you know, for when the baby comes." I sat beside him and leaned against his chest, feeling his heartbeat, a gentle rhythm that had grounded me through everything. "You're going to be an amazing father," I whispered. "Only because I have the most incredible mother beside me," he replied, and kissed the crown of my head. My belly had just begun to show. The doctors said everything was normal, that I was strong, that the past wouldn't repeat itself. And I believed them, not just because of science, but because of Sam. He had rewritten my future, not by changing who I was, but by reminding me I deserved to be loved in the daylight. When our daughter was born, we named her Light. Her cry was soft, like a question, and I cried louder than she did. Sam held her first, cradling her like she was spun from porcelain, his eyes glistening, his hands trembling. "She's perfect," he whispered. "Like her mother." I touched her tiny hand and felt her fingers curl around mine, fragile but determined. That single gesture broke every shard of pain that still lingered in my chest. In that moment, the life I had once lost was reborn. This time, I got to hold my child. This time, I wasn't alone. This time, no one stole my joy. Aileen grew fast. She had Sam's smile and my eyes. She took her first steps in our garden, tumbling toward the sun, her laughter echoing like a song. Sometimes I sat under the maple tree, watching her play, and I'd think about the girl I used to beta, one who clung to Oliver, begging for a love that never existed. I no longer felt hate for him, only distance. He was a shadow that had passed, and shadows cannot touch what lives in the light. One summer evening, Aileen toddled into the house with a leaf in her hand. "For you, Mama," she said. Sam scooped her up and twirled her in the air, both of them laughing. And as I watched them, I realized that this was what my past self had been searching for in all the wrong places. Not grand gestures, not empty promises, but a home. A quiet, warm place built from kindness, trust, and the kind of love that didn't scream but stayed. Years later, when people asked me why I chose Sam, I always smiled and said, because he never made me feel like I had to earn love. He just gave it. And in this life, I finally learned that the right person doesn't come to save you. They arrive when you've saved yourself. They don't complete you. They remind you that you were always whole. My story didn't end in tragedy. It ended with peace. With Sam. With our daughter. And with a heart that finally, after 2 lifetimes, beat without pain. Thank you for accompanying Universe of Love and Anime until the last minutes of this story. A journey of 2 lives, from the ultimate hurt to gentle healing, from false promises to a sincere love without noise. If your heart has also been touched, please do not hesitate to like, subscribe to the channel to continue exploring emotional love stories, and share this video with those who need a ray of hope, a word of comfort, or simply a moment of silence to feel love. Your support is the greatest inspiration for us to continue writing beautiful things for the heart. Revolving Hearts.